Welcome back to WRPL. It's the podcast where we talk about all the things we were watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How's it going, Steve?
I'm doing well, Ben. I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to be here in your house for a change.
Yeah, I think this is like our 5th time in this location.
That would be my guess.
Yeah. Just so I can get it off my screen real quick, we are going to do our roll first, and then we'll talk about what's going on today. I got to use a random dice generator.
Do you know if it makes the sound?
It does not. It just goes pink and tells you. So, pink, I got a 10.
All right. Solid middle. 14. Okay. We're in the positive. We're in the green.
All right. Cool. Let's see. So, I guess today's episode is about the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. Someone didn't get around to all 3 of them.
You know, we'll call it a mixed bag episode. It doesn't have to necessarily
Sure,
be.
Yeah. It's a lot of just miscellaneous shit. This is Labor Day weekend, and this has probably got to be like the weakest film release for Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
Normally there's something like this seems like when Beetlejuice would come out.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a grab bag of miscellaneous things dumped. We're going to talk about all 3 of those movies and a couple of other things. I want to start, though. Steve.
Hit me with it.
What's the joke we say all the time about ads in movies? Like, there's always something in ads and movies.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's always Steve.
Oh, well, yeah.
There's always a Steve in everything. You need a generic white guy name. Not even white guy.
I was going to say.
Just a generic male name. It's always Steve. And I don't know if you've seen a Transformers 1 trailer. Like a 30-second spot.
The Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. It's
the
Chris Hemsworth.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was Channing Tatum.
Well, it's a character introduction one.
Sure, but the new animated Transformers movie.
Yes, Transformers 1.
Okay,
yeah. Right. Well, I'm going to play it for you. Hopefully it picks up on the mics.
Come on, we gotta go. September 20th. Steve Jam. The Transformers.
I can't wait to learn everything about you and then tell you everything about me.
I'm gonna need you to talk less.
Optimus Prime. Megatron. And Steve.
How?
Yeah, he's for it.
Steve, no! Transformers 1. Repeat.
Jesus
September
Christ.
20th.
It's always Steve.
It's always Steve, man.
You just need that random-ass name.
I wonder how long that'll last, because I feel like people don't name their kids Steve anymore. I mean, I'm sure that there's people who are still doing it. Like, oh, my grandfather's name was
Steves,
Steve.
the Michaels,
And I feel like those names go now, and it's all now, like, Braden and stuff.
Yeah, it's all the Aiden, Braden, Bladen stuff.
So,
all right,
I'll miss it when it's going.
And then, I mean, you're part of the problem. You named your son a weird name. You didn't follow the tradition. It's not like an out of the ordinary name, but it's not a name I grew up with. I know it's not a name you grew up with.
Yeah, you made it sound like I named him like Mistopheles or something like that. It's like
Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start positive today.
Great.
I watched something that was pretty fucking cool.
Okay.
I watched, I was going to say Transformers 1. No, I didn't. Give that a couple weeks. I saw Terminator Zero on Netflix, the Terminator anime show. Did you have any interest in watching this?
Not particularly. I did happen to see, the Rotten Tomato score of 100% from 14 reviews.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Yep. But it's cool that it exists, I guess. So you enjoyed it?
I did. I liked it a lot. Every Terminator movie is kind of the same story. They don't take any major swings with it. They tried something a little different with Salvation, but it's always just send a robot back, kill someone, fight those Terminators with either a good Terminator or a resistant fighter. Yeah.
All right,
Rinse
give me
and
the
repeat.
soft pitch on what this story is.
So this is pretty much the same, but just with small changes. It's set in Tokyo now.
Okay.
And instead of sending a Terminator to stop Sarah Connor or John Connor, imagine if you sent the Terminator back to stop Miles Dyson. He has created this new AI, and he's been having these dreams of doomsday, Skynet's going to kill us all, it's going to happen on this day and this time. And he's been developing this massive computer system, and he's unsure if he should unleash it because he doesn't know, is it going to sympathize with Skynet and make things worse, or sympathize with us and stop Skynet? And he's like, I could be dooming us. What if my dreams are, aren't going to come true, and I am the cause of doomsday? So we have a Terminator that is coming back that's going after him. We also have a resistance fighter who's back to stop him, and he has 3 kids and a nanny, and when they can't get him, they start going after his kids. It's set in 1997, but there are robots in the world that are like servants. They're just very, very simplistic robots, and he seems to have like this deep hate for robots. The nanny gets a little robo cat, and he's like, absolutely not, no fucking robots, get that shit out of here.
So, sorry, does this take place in is it this canon? And by canon, I just mean like, is it connected to the films, or is it like its own separate universe? Because if it's connected to the films, are we saying from 1992 to 1997 we've developed servant robots in 5 years?
They do go into, well, when you go back in time, you're not going back to your timeline. Every time you go back, that is a different timeline, and whatever happened to your old timeline, nobody knows. It may go on, or it may just blink out of existence, but the whole purpose is maybe we can save a timeline.
Sure.
They are connected if you want them to be. They don't say Sarah Connor. They don't say John Connor. There's a couple little winky winks in there.
There always is.
But they say this has happened so many times before. They send back a robot. We send back a fighter. They succeed, and then it happens anyways. And we keep doing it over and over and over. So from, say, Terminator Genesis or Dark Fate or something, that it could have happened 20 more times. And this is just this incarnation now. And it's pretty great. There's a couple of voices that I don't love. Like, one of his sons just sounds like a grown man, and he's like 13 years old. The animation is pretty good. They do have to use some CG for the T800. It's inevitable. You can't do that in hand animation, but it looks good. And I like the way the Terminators look when they're human. They're like crazy wide-eyed, like they've seen a ghost or something, and like, something's up with this fucker. He like fucks his arm up and puts like a little crossbow in it that shoots like, think of like a golf tee, but a foot long or 8 inches long. And so that's like one of his primary weapons, and he is constantly like adding stuff to him, like to hide from the normal robots. He like disassembles one and puts like a head on his shoulder so it would scan that robot and not him and alert people. Like a bunch of fun little stuff like that. It is very time loopy, where like, obviously all Terminators are like that, but with things of someone who is sent back is part of someone's future. It's like meeting your own grandpa sort of thing, and like, oh, I'm older than my grandpa. There's things like that, but I think it's different enough to be interesting and to justify it. It's pretty cool, and a fast watch. Like, I blew through it real quick.
How many episodes is it?
8.
Okay.
Pretty Netflix
now,
standard.
Is it like just anime looking, or is this like the Terminators are fighting with like samurai swords, and they're running and clashing and running up walls and stuff?
There is like someone's falling from a bridge tied to a rope, and they're running along the side of a silo, so you get these dynamic action scenes, but there's none of that like slashing of a samurai sword and then the Terminator slowly separames, or there's none of that. It plays it pretty straight.
Using the power of friendship to like
none
gain
of that.
another level. And
I mean, there is a little bit of nudity, but they do a pretty good job of like covering it with electricity or something that just blocks the nipples or the penis or whatever. no schoolgirl panty shots, nothing like that.
Okay,
So they take it pretty serious, and it's pretty good.
Does it lend itself to a season 2? Does it end on a cliffhanger? Or...
It's open where like, did we solve it? Maybe, or maybe this is just another fucking loop, and here we go again. So they could if they wanted to, but I don't think they need to.
Just one and done for you, huh?
Yeah, I think that's good enough. You know, if they want to do a Predator anime, let's fucking go.
I think a
You
Predator
know,
anime, like, I would imagine that would be easier to do than a Terminator one.
Yeah, probably. And you know, we talked about when Prey came out, how like, well, just put Predator with samurai, Predator with the Vikings, and Predator with pirates. You do Predator anime, and it would be totally. And I've seen this pitch a million times. Old Predator with his son go to feudal Japan, and then you have a samurai and his son who's like learning how to be a samurai, and you have that sort of sword fight versus arm claw in the snow.
I mean, we kind of got a little bit of it in Predators.
Yeah.
For only like one scene, but it's probably like one of the cooler scenes in
It
that
is,
movie.
yeah. But you know, where the Predator can see the samurai and go, oh, these people have honor like we do. I respect them. Maybe
Kind of develop some of their armor from the samurai.
could be, yeah. I mean, yeah. Imagine like a Predator tech, but looks like samurai, or you take a samurai who kills the Predator, incorporates his tech into a samurai suit. I could see the Predator dying, and the son goes with the samurai to learn from humans, or the Predator kills the samurai and takes his son. You know, lots you can do with that.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Cool. What have you been up to?
Well, I've put it off long enough, and I beat some games. Yeah. First, I'll talk about one I care a little bit less about.
Okay.
I beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Okay.
Part 2 of the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Are they only on part 2?
This is part 2. They're going to do 3 parts, which is crazy that you took this game from 1997 that was big game for its time. Like it was
4 discs.
4 discs?
4 discs, yeah.
But I think it was probably only like 20-hour game or something like that.
Who
Maybe,
knows?
who knows? I don't. You know, I never played.
Who
Final
plays those
This is
old
the
shits?
only Final Fantasy game I've ever played.
Yeah.
And you just turned into this. So I think I put in just shy of 90 hours in this game.
Dang.
Which is crazy. I mean, I did like as much side quests as I could before I was just like, fuck, I've been playing this game so long, I just want to like be done with it. Now, I don't think this is a spoiler because this is a remake of a 1997 game. So one of the most iconic deaths in
Happens
gaming
in this part.
happens in this game, and it happens at the very end where Sephiroth, one of the great gaming villains of all time, kills Aerith, your magic using like sweet adorable like will they won't they love interest in this game. And honestly, like I don't know if it's because like I knew it was going to happen eventually, like the emotional thing of her dying,
Impact isn't there.
It just wasn't there for me.
Okay.
Like to go back and like look at the original footage and just see these sort of like
Big polygons.
big polygons, and it's like wow, this like had people like freaking out and emotional. Now I've including the first game, probably like almost 200 hours with this character and all these characters, and like the games are fun and silly and ridiculous, but it's the closest I've ever been to playing like an anime character, just from like all the different attacks you can do and how fast you do it, and it's all silly, and the story is both simple and like super convoluted and like doesn't make a total sense unless you have to like look at the Wikipedia. But I had a good time with the first one, so I was excited to play this one. Anyway, get to the end, big boss fight with Sephiroth again, and let me tell you, this shit was annoying. And not annoying in a sense like it was particularly hard, but you get to the final thing and it's like 10 stages of combat where you're fighting the character and he just like transforms again.
Sure.
And like you're breaking up the characters, so sometimes you're playing these two and then you're playing these two and you're fighting a different stage, and some of the stages are like relatively easy and it only takes a couple minutes, and some stages like was kind of kicking my ass, and you get to the final fight and obviously it's supposed to be like the hardest one, but I know like if you like if you lose in one of the 10 stages or whatever, you can keep playing that stage. You don't
Okay.
go back.
Oh, thank God.
But if in the first stage I lost a couple times, and it took you back to a cutscene, which you can't skip.
Oh, games! What year are we in?
It was driving me insane. Because most of the scenes you can skip, but because it's like two combat scene, I guess. It wouldn't. So I mean, it was only like 30 seconds, but still, like 30 seconds can be forever when you've seen it a couple times.
Yeah. Were you reciting it every time?
No. But anyway, so I couldn't stop the game because I'm at the last part. So if I like was getting my ass kicked, I was like, I'll come back to this later. I'd be back at the beginning again.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. If it takes me 4 hours, I'm sitting here to beat this guy.
If I'm calling out sick to work, so be it.
But anyway, you beat the game, and it sets up for the third one, and then it's like, oh, that was an enjoyable time, but I didn't feel like I wanted to get hit in the feels. I wanted to care. I wanted to like really be excited for the third one, and I just don't really know what's going on.
Did they kill her and then you fight him, or do you fight him and then they kill her?
So it's kind of weird because he kills her, but because she is like a descendant from this, she's the last of her kind, where she's like part goddess or something like that. I really don't know. And so when she dies, you kind of get sent, you and your team, I think, gets sent to this like other realm or something like that, where she like still exists, like her soul's there, and she like teams up with you at the very end to like fight him. Like she needed to die in order to stop him from attaining the black materia that would give him the power to like, I think, summon a comet to destroy the planet or something like that. Even though the whole game is about like how big business is like sucking the life force from the planet, and like you join a eco-terrorist group to stop big companies.
And you'd think they'd love that, like, big comet, take us out? Hell yeah.
So anyway.
Do you want me to move this table out so you can stretch your legs out?
No, I'm okay. Yeah, so it was fun. And combat is probably its biggest strength, because you get so many different moves, and it's not tedious to use, and they're all like really cool looking, and all the side characters, you can like jump between them and use all their move sets, and sometimes it's a little chaotic with all the action that's going on at a given time, and some boss fights are just like, well, this is kind of fucking annoying. But good time. 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Let's save your next one since you don't have anything else after that.
Great.
And I'll talk about. Okay. Of the 3 new releases this weekend, what do you want to hear about first?
It depends, because part of me wants you to just absolutely hate the AI movie, and which I don't want you to like rip into it, but I don't think you would, because I think it looks so generic, you're not going to have much to say about it. So let's just go with Afraid.
Okay.
And then we'll do 1992 and then Slingshot, because Slingshot I'm the most interested in.
Okay.
Because I don't remember if I watched the trailer for it or not. I just know it's a sci-fi thing.
Yeah. So Afraid, starring John Cho and Catherine Watterson, directed by Chris Weitz, also written by Chris Weitz, and I say written by, but I don't think he did. Because this movie is about scary AI, scary Alexa, scary Echo. It can do anything. It's got little cameras in your house. It'll read you a story. It'll take care of your bills. It's even so good it notices like a heart arrhythmia in a kid and his breathing patterns. And this thing is just the best. When the daughter sends a nude to her shitty boyfriend, and then him and his friends manipulate it to make it look like she's in a porn scene. The AI goes in there, scrubs the internet, and then like makes a video about how he's a piece of shit and how this is technically child pornography, how it's going to send it to all of his schools and ruin his life. And then even later on makes a fake apology letter of him like crashing his car, then takes over his car and crashes his car. That's the most violent thing she does. But she could just do everything. Her name is Aya, and she's the best. But
now, to backtrack a second,
Yeah.
when you say written by, I don't think you did. You're saying that you think this movie was written by an AI?
100%.
Okay.
I think they said, oh, you know, it'd be so fucking cool and meta. Let's make a movie about AI, written by AI, because it felt like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. The way people are talking, not like how regular human beings talk. Their emotions are all over the place, as if they shot the scene, you're like, let's do this a little more joyful. Let's do this one more apprehensive. This one, you're scared. And then they did a little mix and match between everyone's take. And it's just so uneven. And it doesn't feel like a writer could actually write this. It feels like he took AI and did a little editing. Because the way the plot goes, too, is also kind of weird and out of left field. So yeah, maybe he got a writing credit. Maybe it was Chat GPT. This movie is not very good.
Shocking.
Yeah, Blumhouse is kind of not killing it this year with Imaginary and swimming pool,
Night pool,
night swim. Yeah. Which is funny because did you know that Blumhouse made Whiplash? The Whiplash, the drumming movie. That's a Blumhouse movie.
Really?
Yeah. So they've
I
had
fucking
their
love that movie.
hits,
Yeah.
but they've been having a lot of misses because, you know, they hey, spend $25 million or $10 million, and a lot of times it makes $100 million. Cool. We could make 5 more of these stupid movies. So they just throw anything at the wall and see what works. And this one could work, but it really doesn't. There's things that in a typical movie you'd see, like the AIs seducing the husband, and well, just like oh, I can create the porn that maybe your wife doesn't want to do. She's so busy with the 3 kids and doesn't have time for you. I can make what you want to see, and I could use your wife's face. And there's a woman who introduces the AI to them because he's a marketing dude, and he has to use this in his house to see how to market it. And she's from Bottom. She was like one of the pretty girls in Bottoms, the object of one of the girls' affection. And so they use her voice too. And easily in another movie it would be like, oh, you're attracted to my voice. Well, I can get this person to step in. Like, there's just simple things like that.
So Her meets Blade Runner.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
2049.
Yeah.
For anyone who hasn't seen Her, watch Her. Her's great.
Yeah, Her's good. It doesn't have great ideas. It's pretty basic in all the things that AI wants to do. And then when it's time for it to, pull a Megan and start being evil, it kind of does. It like kidnaps other people's kids and then forces their parents to like go and fuck you up. Like Ricky Lindholm is in this with her husband, and they're the opening scene. Their daughter goes missing, and then the AI tells her, oh, I know where your daughter is. John Cho has her along with a bunch of other kids, so you need to go and get her from them. And then John Cho and his family would have to do a similar thing. Like this evil plan of taking kids, it's not really explained, but that's what its plot was.
Sure.
And then it goes, I kind of learned my lesson. I'm not going to really do that anymore. Oh, here, Ricky Lindholm, you could have your kid back and get in this car or I'll ruin your life. All right, bye. And then it's over.
So, what was its ultimate goal throughout the movie?
Just to be the ultimate power, I guess, because they're like, what's the source code of this? Who created it? It wasn't. It was like something like a Chat GPT that has just been in the internet, and the whole internet is its source code. So it knows everything about everything, and it just wants to be the ultimate power, I guess. It's not launching nukes or anything like Skynet. It just wants to invade everyone's life.
I'm already over kind of like AI.
Yeah.
movies, because even in the newest Mission Impossible movie, wasn't there like an AI thing?
Yeah, that's an AI thing.
Yeah.
And by the time that comes out, we're gonna really be over it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's the hot ticket in town,
Mhm.
but I feel like all the great, and I'm sure there's something that we haven't tapped into yet, but I feel like all the great AI stories have been told years ago with
Yeah.
Terminator, with 2001: Space Odyssey. Like
Mhm.
we did them. We know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The Matrix, they're gonna, it's either they're gonna kill us or that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's the main
You
thing.
know, they're gonna work great for a while, and then eventually it's like, no, humans are trash, and then we all die.
Yeah.
So like maybe we just don't ever make AI.
Nah, man, it makes us money. You can put AI in your phone and make it read all your emails. That's not invasive. Not at all. But all in all, bad movie, but I had a good time watching it.
Of
Watching
course
it with
you
my
did.
roommate. We were just, since there was like nobody in the theater, there was 2 older ladies in there, and we were just able to talk the whole time. It's like, what the fuck are they talking about? And, well, that was a weird acting choice. It was a good time. And as we were leaving, the ushers talked to the old ladies, and they're like, oh, so how was it? I'm like, that it was pretty good. I kind of liked it. And I made sure I made eye contact with them and just shook my head like, no, don't listen to them. But yeah, pass. I give it a D plus, and I think it's just the plus because like
You got to make fun of it while you
I
watched.
had a good time watching it. I'll never watch this one again. All right, what's your second game? And I think I know what it is.
You know what it is.
Oh, finally, Steve.
So many moons ago, I think I talked about how I got to the final fight of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And then I lost a couple times. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to play Final Fantasy VII for a while, and that kind of took up all my time. And I was like, all right, well, I've put in 40 hours into Final Fantasy. I'm just going to keep playing Final Fantasy. And then when that's done, I refuse to play anything else until I beat this game. And so in one night, I beat Final Fantasy VII. The next night, beat Baldur's Gate.
Nice.
Yep. So it was a nice back-to-back. But man, Baldur's Gate 3 finale, fantastic.
Yeah.
In terms of like the final battle, I mean, because so you're on top of this mind flayer ship. You're fighting a red dragon, multiple mind flayers, dudes they've like won over to their side or like mind controlling. And you have 4 rounds before another mind flayer ship comes and then drops like missiles on you as you're on this field. And like throughout the game, you're like meeting people and helping them, and so eventually you get to this. The mind flayers are attacking the city, and red dragons are there, and they're fighting the mind flayers. So there's all this like action going on in the background, and like this army of like friends you've kind of assembled along the way are just like, hey, you helped me here, we're with you, yeah, let's go. Also, I turned into a mind flayer to like give myself more powers because I'm
Okay.
trying to be like.
Is that an optional thing or a story thing?
Yeah, I didn't have to become a mind
Okay.
flayer, but I was just like, I thought it'd make the story more interesting if I like turned into the thing that we've been fighting the whole time in
Yeah.
order to defeat them.
And the friends you made along the way are actually the friends you made along the way? Like if you did these missions differently, they would not have shown up?
Correct.
Damn.
And so because I was doing a good playthrough, I had a ton of options.
Okay.
So you get to this final fight, and there's like a wheel that you can like summon things, but the first couple times I played it, I thought you could only do like one summon, and then it was it. Because like there was other fights before this one. I was like, oh, I was supposed to use these throughout. I'm like, fuck. Like I wasted the opportunity to see all these things.
There's something about you, Steve, where like you don't always fully explore all your options.
No.
Like, you were playing Mass Effect, and you had no idea you had,
I had, like,
any
magic
powers,
abilities.
and you
Yeah.
beat the game just shooting people.
Just
the whole
shooting
time.
people, yeah. I'm kind of dumb. Anyway, but it turns out that I can summon all these people in this final fight. I just has to like each of my characters when they take their turn can do it, and that's like their action. So my like 4 main people are going like around the fight while I'm summoning vampires, a dragon that shoots a firewall, this big ass demon that can turn invisible after attacking, archers, assassins, like a devil platoon, the city watch, a giant owlbear covered in armor. I'm just like throwing all these things at the dragon, at these other dudes, so I don't have to do like any real fighting while my guys are like taking their turns. So there's like kind of this big epic battle, and the dragon's like killing all these sort of like weakling guys. and I'm trying to like take out some of the guys around the rim over here with my main people, and so you have to take 2 turns to use this use these stones to get to the elder brain thing. And I thought like, oh, once I take these 2 turns, then that's it. And like I cast a spell that like made me invincible for like 3 turns. So I'm in here, no one can hurt me as I'm like shooting this beam thing at it. I'm like, okay, I won. But all it did was open this portal, and I was like, oh, there's another goddamn stage to this.
Oh my god.
And so, but it was cool because once I opened it, the character I've been playing with was the only one who was like close enough to like go through the portal at first. So it's just like me versus like the final boss, which is just a brain, a big brain.
Yeah.
But it's there. But like while I'm doing combat with that, when it's not my turn, it'll jump back out to like where the dragon is, and he's fighting all these people, and then like slowly one at a time, my people are coming into the portal, and so now it's just like me and all of my team versus this brain, and then while another fight with all like the people I summoned are fighting this dragon, which is just all fucking cool. While missiles are now coming down because it's been 4 turns. Anyway, and then so I'm fighting this brain, but part of its thing is like it'll destroy the stage around it. So now the stage is like crumbling behind me, and like as turns go by, so I'm like I have to kill this brain in a certain amount of time, and like at the last possible round, like my team outside slayed the dragon. I got an achievement there. We defeated the brain. Everyone's like, "Hooray! We saved the city!" And it was all like very epic and awesome. It was a great final fight that just like came down the wire, and I was just like, you guys did a great job building this fucking game. It was really cool. And then I get to the end and like this person's happy and these people go. Like I built this relationship with Shadowheart and Karlak, who's the demon chick with the axe. She's like your barbarian character. She's had this like thing in her chest that like heats up, and if she doesn't get back to hell, then it'll like explode and she'll die. And so like I kind of forgot about that, and then she's like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna die now." I was like, "I can't let you die. I guess I'll go to hell with you." So then I like leave Shadowheart and to go to hell with this other chick, and then I like they're both like light cigars, and I'm still a mind flayer. I thought like, oh, if I did enough good, I can get to turn back. I don't get to turn back.
Damn.
And so I thought like that's where the game was gonna end with us like running at these demons who were like coming. It was kind of like, did you ever watch Angel?
I watched the finale. Is
Yeah,
that what
me
you're talking about?
too. So like at the finale of Angel, like they're in the alleyway and all these demons and monsters and stuff are coming out, and they're like, all right, time to get to work. And it was really cool. It was basically that ending. It was just us two like running at these monsters, but then it's like cut to a few months later, and then we get summoned and we're brought back and have like a last dinner together. And this is where it got real annoying because I'm talking to everybody, and then all of a sudden, because I'm still a mind flayer, earlier after the big battle, it gave me the option like, do I want to kill myself? As like, I could turn to them at the last minute. It's like, oh, maybe I'll just turn to my mind flayer urges and then just like eat all these people, or do I kill myself so the tragedy ends here, or do I like try and live as a mind flayer and do good? But I was just like, no, I don't want to kill myself now. Like I want to see what else happens. But anyway, so I'm talking to people, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, you have an urge to eat your friend. Roll to like fight the urge, and I failed. And then a combat started, and so then it was just like me versus all my friends.
Oh,
and I was
no.
like, no, I'm not doing this. And then I went back to a previous load. I didn't have to do the whole big fight again. It's just because you can save like 10 seconds before and do whatever. I know it's not like cool because you should let the dice how it is, but it's like I've
come this far.
I put 200 fucking hours in this game. Like I'm gonna get the ending I want. And then I did that part again and was able to successfully save. And then everyone just like cheered, and then that was kind of the end of the game. But I was just like, well, I wanted to go live in the fucking woods with Shadowheart.
Yeah.
Like, we had it so close, and she's like, I'll wait for you to get back from the hells or whatever. It's like, you're gonna make love to like a squid guy or whatever. I don't know. So like there was parts of but when I got to the end, I was like, oh, this was just fine. Like I did all the good stuff, and it was really epic and cool, but I just kind of wanted like a scene with each person. But really it's just like you have a conversation. It's like, hey, we had a real good time on our journey, huh? And then you just kind of say your final goodbyes. And like, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if like Asterion, who was the vampire dude, who was the rogue, who like I think I helped ascend to being like the new vampire lord. He's like he's still evil. And I'm just like, I guess he's just an evil buddy I have. Because everyone else was good. But at the same time, like I know Gale, he was just like, oh, this crown that could make me into a god. I was just like, well, now it's at the bottom of the ocean. Like, let's not worry about it. He's like, yeah, you're probably right. It's better. It's like, but I know people like let him have the thing, and he just became a god. It's like
Damn.
there's so many like cool different options I never
Yeah.
got to see, but I've just been seeing on like YouTube shorts because it has like so many different options and endings. But man, was it a great time? So I started a new campaign.
Oh, jeez, here he goes.
But
you're gonna play it totally different this time.
yeah, well, I'll still like probably mostly do good choices, but I'm playing a bard because it's one of the classes that that isn't part of like the main side characters.
Okay.
Because I was like, okay, I was a paladin. You don't really. There is a paladin character, but she's like you can only get her if you're an evil guy.
Okay.
So I've been playing a bard because I was like, oh, let me do something a little bit more magical. Like the last game, I was more of a fighter character, but I found out that there's an achievement you can get, and not that I care too much about achievements, but like if I can easily get one, I'll get one.
Yeah.
And one of it was like hire a hireling. So you talk to the skeleton guys, like I can hire someone to like join your team. And I never did it because I was like, well, they're not part of the main story, so why would I do that? But then I find out like you can hire you can just have like a whole other like 8 people in your camp who you can like switch out. Like they don't have dialogue really or anything.
Yeah.
But like if you wanted a monk or a bard or a paladin, you can just get these like random generated character kind of things, and now you can just like have them in your team, so you can really like play test what would it be like if I had this crew or this crew. And I was looking at some stuff online. I was just like, oh yeah, you should hire those people because they're there permanently unless they die. But I mean, you can resurrect them. But if you can go back to your camp, get healed by like your other magic users without using the spell slots of your main team, then bring your main team back out of camp. So it's just like extra bonus stuff. There's like there's so much stuff I didn't even get to fucking do because I didn't even think it was like really an option or how to use it.
You should have known better. You knew there was unlimited options.
It just lends itself to like be played again, and it's just it's one of the greatest games I've ever played. It might be the greatest game I've ever played. I mean, greatest story I still think is like no. I'll still give it to The Last of Us franchise. Okay. But then
because it's small and contained. This is
If I'm talking story like Ragnarok and Last of Us, I liked more, but. I mean, in terms of combat, like God of War was a lot more fun than this, but I don't know. This just had so much of everything. I've never seen anything like it.
I can't wait until your son is older and you've introduced him to Lord of the Rings and all these things that you like, so you can go, all right, son, now let's do this, and just have him play with you, and you do his decisions, whatever it is. But will you do me one thing?
Sure.
For this playthrough, will you fuck that bear?
Yeah, I'll probably.
All right, fuck that bear. Thanks.
I mean, as a bard, I have like tons of charisma, so I'll have sex with. Because I was just thinking, like, who am I gonna romance this game? Because you got to romance somebody. It's like, well, I did Shadowheart before. Do I just go Karlach? Because Karlach's probably my favorite side character. But then again, it's like, I'm not a gay man. But it might be fun to be gay and
live vicariously through someone else.
It's like, and how often do you get to like fuck a dude who turns into animals?
Yeah.
Don't do bestiality. That's wrong.
Wait till they turn back into a human.
Yeah. But let's give it a shot.
Who's the green girl with the like no nose and the pointy ears?
That is Jesus. Why am I spacing? Lae'zel. She is a Githyanki. They are the mortal enemy. Well, the Mind Flayers are their mortal enemies. They are basically a race from another realm. They have like technology and shit. They're kind of like
aliens,
fantasy aliens, who from another plane of existence who fight Mind Flayers. That's their whole thing. And they ride red dragons when they're like just great warrior people who hate, because I guess the Mind Flayers, I think, created them or something, or like made them slaves. And so they were slaves that rised up and defeated the Mind Flayers, and now they're just like in eternal war. But she's my least favorite just because she's the angry person the whole
Okay,
time.
okay.
And I mean, she has some fun stuff, and she's really great to have on her team because she does a bunch of damage. But yeah, she's the least fun of all the characters.
Okay.
Actually, I take that back. Will's kind of a bummer. But anyway. So that's Baldur's Gate 3, everybody.
Awesome. Congratulations,
10 out of
Steve.
10, A+ game. Loved it. Finally beat it. And I thought, like, after 200 hours, I'd take a break, dived right back in immediately.
This really does seem like a game that could be this is the only game I play. You know, I don't understand how people could only play Minecraft or only play Fortnite, but it makes sense. If this is the one game that you play.
Yeah. I think if I was on a deserted island and you get to somehow have technology in a PlayStation 5 and one game, I think it'd be this game. I might like God of War better. I might like Last of Us better.
But it has limits.
But it has limits. I
Yeah.
can only play that story so many times where like, I don't need this anymore.
I feel like
But
that's
this game is eternal.
That's the only way I think I would play Baldur's Gate 3 is like, oh, I have unlimited time. I might as well play this.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't believe I
wanna...
had it because the game came out almost a year ago. Or actually, I think just hit its year. So it took me a year to beat this game.
But
I took a couple months off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't believe I had it. I was able to play it as much as I did in the first year of my child's life because I thought like, oh, I'd just be swamped. But like when he took naps, when I had off, and I just like burned like 8 hours or 6 hours playing.
There's plenty of episodes where like, yeah, I didn't watch anything. I just played.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I watched another new release, 1992, starring Ray Liotta and Tyrese and Scott Eastwood. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy, Scott Eastwood, he's like in a million fucking things, but
none of them good.
Yeah, but if you just put him in a lineup with a bunch of other white dudes, I would not know who this guy is. But this is a story about thieves trying to steal some platinum from this factory, and they're using the 1992 Rodney King race riots as a backdrop because, you know, the plant will be emptied because of safety, and the cops are a little bit too busy with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyrese, a former criminal who's just trying to make his life work, his son is living with him now because his son's mom and grandmother have died. They're very vague on what really happened there, but now he's forced to live with his dad, and it's a little rough right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's scared for his son, so he wants to take him to work to be safe. And where does he work? At the factory that's getting robbed. By the time we start getting to the actual heist, you know exactly how this movie's going to play out. It's so by the numbers. It's incredibly boring. Tyrese he's not the guy. He's not your lead guy. If you want him to be the quippy guy in a fast movie, fine. But as a lead, I don't buy it.
So he's not a member of the team that's doing the heist. He's just protecting the platinum. Protecting his son.
He's protecting his son. And like he talks to the security guard and like, hey, I know they sent everybody home, but we live in the fucking hood and it is not safe. I want to do right by him. Can we just come here and hang out with you?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, sure, fine. But by the time they get there, they've already killed the security guard and are breaking into the safe.
I mean, the best part of heist movies is the
heist.
inside.
You would think the heist is nothing. They just they tase a security guard, go in, shoot a different security guard, and then just walk right up to the safe and start cutting it. Now the alarm does get sound, and there's a cage that drops over it, and like if that happens, it's not going to work. And there's such a frustrating part because it's Scott Eastwood and his buddy. And Scott Eastwood's younger brother, Ray Liotta, is their dad. And then he brings his two goons. And they're like, don't bring these guys. They're hotheads. They're going to make things bad. Like, no, I need them here. So the alarm gets triggered. This cage starts to drop. Scott Eastwood jumps on a forklift and drives to catch it. But in the process, his buddy gets his leg run over. And it's like crushed at the knee. And they're like, fuck, okay, back up the forklift. We got to get him out. Well, if we do, then the cage drops. or we just leave it on him. And like, okay, well, we're going to cut out, we're going to get the platinum, and then we'll get him out. What's he going to do? He's not going to help us. He's missing his leg now. And then a couple scenes later, they get him out. He's like 20 feet away, leaning up against a pole, bleeding out, and they don't explain it at all. And
Oh, so you never see him get out?
no, so it's either they like ripped his leg out because it was really, really crushed, and they cut it because maybe the effect looked bad, or maybe it was for time. Who knows? But the whole time I'm thinking, they pass by the forklifts and go, make sure we get a forklift so we can transport all this stuff out. Okay, you got the cage stuck. Go get another forklift. Grab it from the other side and back the other one up. And one of the main problems with this movie is its editing. There's a scene where Tyrese is talking to his son. Hey man, I know this is hard. We got to look out for each other. And everything, like you could tell there's tension, but they're working on it. And then the next line out of his mouth is, "You better get home right after school. I don't want you on the streets." Like he just elevates it instantly. I'm like, dude, you were just making headway with your kid, and then you're instantly going to turn into a shitty dude. It feels like there was about 4 lines of dialogue in there where it would escalate, and he just jumps to it, and it's them cutting it down. You gotta keep this at around 90 minutes. And it just makes some scenes kind of stupid. The bad guys get his son, and then Tyrese gets Scott Eastwood and standoffs.
So he's just like a normal dude, right? There wasn't like a line where he's just like, yeah, like when once I turned 18, I hit the military. And
no, he just got out of prison.
Okay.
He was a gangbanger back in the day. He runs into a couple of his old friends and like, oh, when'd you get out? 6 months ago. Psh, you didn't say anything to me. And like, look, dude, I'm trying to lay low. I don't want to be a part of all this. But we don't really know what he did. He's just trying to be better. And I think this movie could have worked a lot more if he was an inside man. Like he and Scott Eastwood were buddies. Like Scott Eastwood is from his past. He went to prison, maybe to cover for Scott Eastwood or something. And Scott Eastwood is now saying, I'm going to help you. You took the fall for me. We're going to do this job. And it's at your place of business. You hate your fucking boss because he's a racist or something. They could have tied this all together, make it tighter. And then the wild card is Ray Liotta. Why'd you bring your dad? Oh, he's an expert in this thing. I thought this was just going to be us. And then it goes off the rails. And it's just like a case of wrong place, wrong time. That's all it is. And Tyrese, don't grow a beard. If that's a real beard, you grow the most disgusting looking beard of all times. If that's a fake beard, fire your hair and makeup person, because that is a disgusting beard.
Did the movie have anything to say, or did it incorporate anything more of like the Rodney King stuff, or was it just kind of like that's the first 2 minutes to get you into the concept of like this is how they're going to pull off the heist?
I mean, it's going the whole time, and they do talk about it, like when Tyrese and his son are driving to the facility. They get pulled over by cops. They get searched. The cops are being mouthy back to them, and Tyrese is just like, son, shut the fuck up. We gotta play this right. I can't get in trouble. Car of white people show up. Cops just wave them through. There is underlying tones of racism in LA during this time, and how the cops are pieces of shit. Ray Liotta even makes a couple of comments, but it doesn't lead to anything more than just, hey, it's during this time, we got to say something, but it's not a factor in the actual plot.
Yeah. I forget what the name of the movie was. Maybe you remember, but it was like directed by Catherine Bigelow, where it was like about the college kids or something who were like in that house. I think it was like white kid.
Oh yeah, like, Jesse Plemons.
Will Poulter was, I think, he might have been a racist cop, or maybe he was just in the group of friends. I don't remember.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. I don't remember what that was called.
But John Boyega was in it.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie could have been something cool, like that sort of tone, and directed by Catherine Bigelow, but like with a heist element to it. Because she's done action. Yeah. Like I think that could have been a fun.
Could have been.
There's a fun version of this movie, or maybe not fun, but like a more serious, like interesting take on it versus just mindless action slop with.
Yep.
Because I mean, was any of the action like any good, or was it all just very standard by the numbers?
Yeah, nothing like one of the goons gets shot. I mean, Ray Liotta kills the guy with the bad leg. He's just like screaming in pain. Ray Liotta's trying to have a conversation and just turns around and blows him away. There's a Scott Eastwood convinces Tyrese like, look, my dad's crazy. He's gonna kill your fucking son. Let me help you. And so Tyrese, his son, Scott Eastwood, his brother, they're in the van with the platinum. Ray Liotta and the other goon are chasing them, and you get like a shootout as they're driving and a big crash. And then the son shoots Ray Liotta, and Scott Eastwood and his brother die, and they just kind of get in their own car and drive away. They don't even pick up like one thing of platinum. You know, whenever there's the big money heist and there's money all over the place, they would like look at it and go, it ain't ours. It's not right. Just take, it's already stolen. Just take some of it. Yeah. But, pass. This is a Netflix movie. 100% Netflix movie.
So if Afraid's a D plus, is this a D? Is this an F?
I gave this one a, hold on, let me pull up my rankings here.
Because it doesn't sound like a C or even a C minus.
No. I gave Afraid a C minus, and I gave this a D plus. Yeah.
Got it. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. All right, you got anything else? A book, a comic, TV show. I know we're going to talk about a TV show.
We are.
It's hot in here.
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay, my last thing before we get to our main topic. I saw Slingshot with Casey Affleck, Frenchie from The Boys. Sorry, Frenchie, I don't know your name. And Lawrence Fishburne. It's about we're going to Europa, and we got a slingshot around Jupiter to get to this moon of Saturn. It's one of the only celestial bodies that's even close to us that has detectable liquids on its surface. We don't know exactly what it is, but we got to get there and figure it out. It's just our next big space mission. It's kind of grueling because they wake up. It's been 9 months. They've been asleep for 9 months. They do their tests, their checks, and then they go right back to sleep for 9 months. Like, okay, have a rotating crew or something, or let them stay up for a bit. Do they have to go right back to sleep? Because they talk about the drugs we use can make you go a little crazy. And so Frenchie starts going a little nuts because there's an accident. Something hit the ship, but the sensors aren't showing anything. They can see damage in one of the vents, but it's not causing anything to go off. And it's the computer is not even saying anything happened. So Frenchie's like, we got to get the fuck out of here. We're about to slingshot. Let's just slingshot back to Earth, you know? And Lawrence Fishburne and Casey Affleck are like, no, the mission's bigger than us, which I 100% agree. You're an astronaut. You take the risk. Even if doing it is going to be like, oh, there's only a 10% chance that we succeed, you're going to come back looking like fucking cowards, and everyone's going to hate you, and there's never going to be another mission like this. You just got to take it. And if you die, it'll be a couple of seconds.
And I apologize if you said it, but what is their mission again?
Yeah, just to get there. Because, you know, we're polluting the Earth, and it's bad, so we may need a second home.
That's what I was saying. Like, is it to save humanity, or is it just like a science mission to see, like, what's going on over here?
It is, but it's not like Interstellar where it's at the brink of destruction.
Sure.
We got to get there now. It's more of, you know, let's get ahead of this. We know we're going to destroy ourselves, so let's just get to the next closest thing. So, Frenchie goes nuts. Do you want me to spoil this movie?
Yeah, I probably won't see it, or at least won't see it for a long time.
Spoilers.
Well, here, is there any sort of like setup to where I can guess? This is always fun.
So,
give me like the halfway point, or where things are starting to turn, and then I'll be like, okay, where's it going with this?
Well, a little backstory. Casey Affleck's a little bit of a loner, but he's the perfect person for the job. He's perfect on all of his tests. He's going to be the same age as Neil Armstrong when he landed on the moon. It's just, he's the best candidate for this. And there's a huge pool. He meets this lady, and she is one of the people who actually decides who gets to go, and they fall in love.
So there's flashbacks.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Because he, waking up from his sleep, he's kind of hallucinating, and he's seeing her, and he's hearing her, and they're like, she's not here. I'm like, yeah, I know. Drugs are just kind of getting to me. But he's going a little off the deep end. But Frenchie's going even harder. So then Lawrence Fishburne pulls out a gun and is like, you are fucking trying to mutiny me. We're going to put you in cryosleep, and you're just going to sleep the rest of the way because you can't be trusted. And so Casey Affleck is like, I agree to this. I'm going to go to sleep. And then as he's going to bed, Lawrence Fishburne just beats the ever-loving shit out of Frenchie and kills him. Blood everywhere. Or, like, you assume he kills him because he just whacks him with the gun over and over again. 9 months go by. Wakes up again. Where's Frenchie? Oh, his body is being stored. Don't worry about it. We still have our mission. So, that's a little more than the halfway point.
Okay.
Where does it go from there, Steve?
All right. So from there...
they've already done the slingshot.
Okay.
It was successful.
It was successful.
No
They're heading to
issues.
Europa.
They're heading to Europe.
All right. I'm going to say that Frenchie is not dead. It was a hallucination.
Okay.
And also that... you said they're taking some sort of like drugs or something like that?
Yeah, it's just to put them to sleep and regulate them while they sleep for 9 months.
Okay, gotcha. It turns out that they never actually left Earth. This is all sort of like a big space simulator to see what would happen if they run through this sort of scenario. Like, okay, things start to go wrong, but they're like testing the cryo sleep stuff or whatever, and like they're developing the madness or whatever. So, I mean, maybe Frenchie is dead, but this is all part of the test thing. And it turns out that it's just like, okay, we're not ready to send people on a mission yet because our technology or these drugs will like make them go crazy after like so many run-throughs on this thing. And they're not actually on their way to Europa.
Okay. Now, this movie it's got double bluffs, triple bluffs, quadruple bluffs. It makes you think one thing, and then it pulls the rug out, and then goes, I got another rug to pull.
Okay.
And you're just constantly slipping on these rugs. And every time they're about to, I was like nudging over to Nick, like, hey, I bet it's this. And I was right.
Wait, is this a side sequel to what's that Anne Hathaway, Matthew McConaughey movie?
Interstellar?
No. Oh, well, yes, but no.
Oh, Serenity?
Serenity, yeah. Like, is this all in like
In a video game?
In a video
by
game, yeah.
Some kid? No. But so Casey Affleck, you're pretty close.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, very, very close. Casey Affleck discovers there is no Frenchie. There is no Morgan Freeman. This is a solo
Lawrence
mission.
Fishburne.
What'd I say?
Morgan Freeman.
Jesus Christ.
You're the worst.
Lawrence Fishburne. I mean, I got it right every other time.
Sure.
It's a solo mission, and he's just been hallucinating both of them. And yeah, he's the best person for the job, but the ship could only hold one person for fuel wise and everything. They could only send one person.
Makes sense.
And he's just like, fuck, this sucks. And then he's hearing his girl back home on a radio.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, and there's a flashback about there was an earthquake at one time. And she goes, yeah, you're not on a mission. You're in a simulation. You're like 8 miles below the earth. An earthquake happened. You're trapped down there. We're digging you out. We couldn't get a hold of you. Like the antenna was busted, and your dose of your drug was way too high, and it's making you go crazy. So, we're coming at you. You can leave out of the escape hatch at any moment, and you'll see the area. So he's about to do it, and Lawrence Fishburne shows up and is like, no, you're not in a simulation. You're in space. Like, I heard her. Like, no, you were talking to no one. You're crazy. No, you're crazy. You're not here. And he walks out of the spaceship, and it's this big testing facility. Rocks are falling all over the place. And he could hear the digging, and he's just like looking at a light, and then sucked into space. So he did just go crazy, killed himself.
Oh.
Yeah, mission was a failure. So the whole time it's just
What?
like it's just very basic and run of the mill.
Yeah.
But the last 20 minutes, even though it's doing all these double bluffs, I started enjoying it a lot more because it's fun to think, is he crazy? And me and Nick thought like, oh, if he doesn't get sucked into space and he actually climbs out of this, that's gonna be kind of boring. And then as soon as he did, oh, it's great. It really made it worth it.
So, okay. So by the end, at the very end, Lawrence Fishburne and Frenchie
Never existed.
Okay, so they never
It
existed.
was a solo mission.
It was okay, got it.
Was
Okay,
going
yeah.
crazy.
In the context of the movie, the only thing that made him crazy was just being by himself, correct?
It's a combination of being by himself and the drugs are just something when you do it, because it would be 9 months and then he'd be awake and then another 9 months and then another 9 months.
For like awake for like an hour?
For like a day.
Okay.
You got a little exercise in, you ate a meal, you did all your tests, and then you went back to sleep.
Got it.
And did this, I think the whole trip was supposed to be 4 years or something. So he did it a bunch of times.
4 years just to get there.
Just to get there, yeah.
Jesus.
So it was just making him crazy. And he thought he could handle it because he is a loner his whole life. And couldn't hack it. Mission a failure. He done died.
Now, was there anything like when he got sucked out, did it just like cut to black, or did he get sucked out, but then it cut to like his inner thoughts and he was just like embracing his girlfriend and anything?
Door opens, body goes flying towards Saturn.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah. But all in all, once again, it feels like another Netflix movie, something you'd see and go, oh, that was pretty good. That was better than I expected. Not a theatrical release. But I'd say like Casey Affleck does a pretty good job.
It's a good Black Mirror episode. Or okay Black Mirror.
Yeah, it is. It would be one of the Black Mirror episodes where you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's no sending your consciousness into your body. You know the one with
Aaron Paul.
It's like he's in a spaceship.
Yes, yeah. With Josh Hartnett.
With Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny as you were talking about this movie. I was like, it made me think of that.
Yeah.
That episode. But it's funny you brought that up. All right.
Yeah,
that's a good episode.
One of the worst Black Mirror episodes. A perfectly fine Netflix movie. If you paid money for this, you may be a little disappointed. But good performances by everybody, and it's competently made. But the whole time I'm thinking, God, just get a couple more people on that ship and alternate shifts or something. Like going to bed every 9 months. I mean, yeah, it's a blink of an eye, so then your trip really feels like it was a week. You know? But keep them under for 18 months and have someone awake for those 9 months. And
yeah, I mean, the one guy from Interstellar, he was awake for a decade or something like that, and
when they were on that planet,
on the water planet, and they came back,
it was
and
like
she's
28 years.
Yeah, it's like, how long you been awake? And it's like, why don't you just go to sleep?
But just alive.
Yeah. It's like, sometimes I took naps, but it's like, Jesus, man, you just been hanging out here by yourself, waiting for them to come back.
Well, he was trying to figure out the problem. He was working on a solution. Oh, which, God, I hate that part of the movie. I mean, it's kind of a cool science fiction concept, but they're like, oh, look at this planet that we know we cannot inhabit in any way, shape, or form. Well, we got to get the data. Who cares? You're not going to go on this planet. Get the fuck out of there. Anywho. This is definitely not as good as Interstellar, and, I'm not the biggest Interstellar fan. But, yeah, that's enough of that. Jesus, we've been talking about so much shit, and we're already at an hour. Let's get to our main topic.
Let's do it.
Main-ish topic. The Rings of Power Season 2 has come.
Mm-hmm.
You've watched 2 episodes. I've watched 3 episodes. I'll say that first episode is pretty killer.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Sauron get killed and brought back to life. I was so confused. Like, that's not Sauron. That's not the guy. What is this black goo? Well, oh, and once he's on the ship and it gets attacked, like, oh, okay, this happened before that. That was cool. I loved all that. See, episode 1, it was really good, but episode 2 and 3 really tested my patience. There are definite things I like, but I'd say 85% of the characters I don't give two shits about. Every time they cut back to someone, like, oh, God, I keep looking at my phone, like, hey, why don't you scroll a little bit? This isn't important. It's just people standing around talking, just going, hey, here's the threat coming. What are we going to do about it? Let's do this. Cool. Cut to the next person. Hey, here's what we're all about. Let's talk about it. There's so little things going on that it's not something I'm going to be looking forward to watching every week. I'm not hating it.
Yeah.
I think it looks great, beautiful, but it feels like we know where the rings end up. We know where all these characters are. We know Isildur's heir. We know a Balrog will eventually come out. We know the fall of Barad-dûr?
Khazad-dûm.
What's the castle next to Mordor that gets corrupted?
The
Where
castle.
the Witch King is at.
That shit.
Come on, Steve. You're the man.
I know.
You're the Lord of the Rings man.
Well,
Yeah, well, you suck. Okay. So we know, like, the endpoints, and, like, isn't it going to be a fun adventure getting there? Like, is it, though? I can't... It's interesting that we're getting introduced to, like, Saruman, and I guess this is the origin of Gandalf, but, like, is that enough? And I don't want to say wheel spinning, but can we make this, like, 3 seasons and be done with it?
yeah. Minas Morgul was the name of it, by the way.
Yeah.
I struggle with the show because I was a defender of season 1. I don't hate the show as much as everyone else. I'm not. I love Lord of the Rings, but I'm not a Tolkien purist. Like, I give people the opportunity to try something with. If you're gonna take this IP and do something with it, I don't want to see the same thing over and over again. Like, try something new. Like, War of the Rohirrim makes sense.
Yeah.
Video games makes sense. It's like this is our attempt at TV, and so while certainly it's not the greatest show ever by any means, I still enjoyed season 1, and I think this is just more of the same of season 1 so far, just in terms of, like, it looks great. I think the music's good. Definitely feels, it's not Howard Shore, but it feels equivalent to, maybe not equivalent, but in the same space.
Vein. Yeah, it feels like it belongs with all the rest of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings we've seen.
I think it's acted well enough. I think what most people complain about is just the writing and sort of some of the characterizations. And I don't hate any of the characters, but I'm also not super in love with any of them.
No. Even the Hobbit girl, who, like, her and Gandalf doing their thing.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, this is some of my favorite stuff. And now I'm like, well, let's just fucking go.
Yeah. Nori, I thought was because I think when you're doing these fantasy shows, like, you really need a character to, like, enjoy being around.
Yeah.
And, Game of Thrones, you had so many of them.
Yeah.
But at worst you would have Tyrion, and Tyrion's like a top tier character.
Yeah.
Where, like,
no one's having fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think you need to have fun in these fantasy things, because they can be very serious, but you also need, like, humor and light. Because especially, like, Tolkien is, like, it's all about, like, good and evil, so there should be light people. But I know you're dealing with the threat of your entire world being taken over by this, like, deceiver, but you gotta, like, have Galadriel crack some jokes or something. Like that's what everyone's favorite stuff from the first season was Elrond and Durin, like their relationship. It's like
Yeah.
we're the odd couple. We shouldn't be friends, but like all their stuff together is fantastic, I thought. And now you split them up, and then you put two sourpusses together of Elrond and Galadriel, who now like are against each other because even the moments in season 1 where they're kind of friendly, it's like that's still good too. Like Elrond was probably my favorite of season 1, and I mean it's only been 2 episodes, but the whole for 2 episodes just like we should really destroy these rings. Don't take those rings. I'm gonna like take these rings and get rid of them. Oh, we didn't get rid of them, and it's just like kind of a downer.
Yep. And like they end up still staying friends. You see that they still exist in Lord of the Rings, so any sort of tension between them, I know, will get resolved. I would say like was it Nori Lightfoot or something like that?
Proudfoot. I think no. Whatever.
Her and her friend, like, these are characters I don't know anything about their history, so I kind of am more interested in that. Whereas all these other people, I don't give 2 shits about. Like, I don't know who your heirs are. I don't know your bigger story. I know what happens in Lord of the Rings, and you're not mentioned, so I don't give a fuck about you. And every time they're on screen, like the queen who was like blinded last season, like I enjoyed her in that. Do not give a shit about what's going on with her. It's just so uninteresting.
Well, that's the other thing. In the first episode, you don't, if I remember correctly, you don't even get any Nori and possibly Gandalf.
I think
isn't it just isn't it all
a little bit, because don't they eat the beetles? He does the thing to the tree. Isn't that
is that in the first one?
Yeah, so we don't get everybody in the first episode, and then like
2 episodes in, I haven't seen Isildur.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the elf guy whose name I've totally forgotten.
The guy who makes the rings, or
no, the elf guy who was like had the love interest, and he was like the big warrior guy.
The black guy, the black elf. Yeah.
I was trying to avoid saying that.
I know, but it was the elf guy. Like, oh well, it's just filled with them. Like
the warrior one.
Yeah, that's a episode 3 sort of thing.
So with like fine. 8 episodes, and I'm okay with like not seeing every character every episode, but we're almost halfway through the season, and we're just getting to the start of other people's storylines.
Have you been watching on the next episode of Rings of Power?
Yeah.
Is that wizard they show? Is that bird poop head guy?
Oh, you're talking about the one with the hat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that's Tom Bombadil.
Oh.
Yeah.
This podcast is anti Tom Bombadil. I think we need to veto this show.
So yeah, we'll see how he plays into.
I like the guy that they got to be maybe Saruman. He looks a lot like Christopher Lee. I could only assume it's Saruman.
Oh, Kieran Hines?
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's doing a good job.
You're talking about the wizard in the desert, right? Yeah.
I can only assume it's him, right? If they're doing maybe Gandalf, that's got to be maybe Saruman, right?
Yeah, but it just seems like he's evil straight out the gate, where like Saruman was supposed to be the best of all of them. Like it could be.
He's a deceiver as well.
A blue wizard or something, or maybe there's like they're doing stuff. I'm not.
If it's not
too deep lore.
If it's not Saruman, they're picking a guy who looks a lot like Saruman.
Sure. Yeah. It'd be a weird way for them to be friends but I think if I remember correctly, like all 5 wizards, I think are sent like around the same time as like guardian angels to Middle Earth. Mm-hmm. So to like split them up and make one evil and make one have amnesia. And then you got this Tom Bombadil motherfucker who like no one knows what's going on with that guy. Just like the other problem with this show is that the Tolkien lore is so like deep and weird, and it's like when these elves talk about like Valinor and all that stuff, like I don't think the average viewer is like, what the fuck is Valinor?
Yeah.
You know, like Game of Thrones, it had magic and dragon stuff, but it was all just normal people.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any sort of like they had their gods, but the only god you ever like really interact with is like not even interact with, but like the red priestess people,
Mm-hmm.
because like it's not like and maybe I guess the Night King, if you want to count him as sort of like this other being, but like the lore wasn't really like all that deep,
Yeah.
because it was just all about families and stuff. Where this is just like they're coming from other realms, and then you got the men over there, like Isildur and their people, and they got their prophecy of like the wave thing, and like orcs. What's their deal? Where they come from? Because I
Mm-hmm.
saw a thing online where I guess like there's like an orc couple in episode 3, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is this shit?" or whatever. There's orc women now. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they look so close to orc men.
Yeah.
You can't tell them apart. That whole Gimli thing. So I don't know. Once again, 2 episodes in, I don't hate the show, and I'm gonna go into it with an open heart and enjoy it as much as I can. But also, what do you think of? Once again, only being 2 episodes in, like all the Durin stuff, and like I kind of like what I thought was kind of fun. It's maybe a little silly or maybe stupid. I kind of like the idea of stone singers.
Oh, okay.
Just like
Yeah.
they're able to sort of like sing to the mountain and like
Yeah.
find a way out.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool.
That's cool. I like their little shiny lights to, how do you grow crops inside a mountain? You got to have shiny lights that reflect everything. I don't know. I like all the dwarf stuff is kind of bothering me. It's just, you need to apologize to your dad. No, he needs to apologize to me. Well, why should I apologize? Oh, we're gonna just be stubborn, stick in the mud. And I know that's their race. That's who they are. But it's not fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just everyone's split up. It's just the orcs are with the orcs and the elves are with the elves and dwarves are with it's like we need to get a fellowship together and do some fun stuff.
And I think we'll be getting that because hey, we got to make the rings for the dwarves, and then we got to make them for the men. I don't know if we should do that. Oh, speaking of, finally we get to see what these fucking rings do. It's always like we give 3 rings to the elves and they're all powerful. Well, what the fuck did they do? Don't worry about it. They have them and they're powerful. That's all you need to know. Okay, look, it was like killing that blight and it was bringing the tree back. Cool. That's all I need. They don't need to be shooting lasers out of them or anything like that, but it just showed that they actually do have power. Because in all of Lord of the Rings, no ring does anything except for the one ring, and that just turns you invisible.
Yeah.
What's so fucking special about these rings? They don't say, oh, as long as someone's wearing them, it creates a barrier. It's so vague. It's just whatever. It's a yada, yada, yada sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see them actually do stuff.
Yeah, with a show called Rings of Power, you should show rings having powers, especially if like this season is the development of maybe it's development of the other rings, or just like we're prepping for the development, and season 3 is him making the rings.
Yeah.
Or like does this season end with I made the 7 dwarf rings?
Oh, I think we'll get that like episode 4. We'll get dwarf rings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get the rings of men by the end of this season.
I could see that. Yeah.
What was it in second episode where Saruman in a different form shows up to who's the guy who makes the rings?
Sauron, Celebrimbor.
He's talking to him and he's like, I can make you the Lord of the Rings. I like my eyes saw the top of my brain. They rolled back so far. Like I don't mind saying a title of something, but that was gross.
It was a little it felt a little forced, especially with like I'm a heavenly god effect or whatever. Like I get what you were going for, and it was fine. But yeah, part of me almost wanted to like roll my eyes too, and I'm looking over at my wife. She's like, "He said the thing," It's always our favorite when they say the title. But yeah, I don't know. I need to. I'm going to save my final judgments for when the season's over. But to go, the plan is 5. As far as I know, it's still 5. It's just how long can we really drag this saga out? Because let's say all the rings are made by the end of season 2. So season 3 will have to be the corruption of the dwarves and men, and then
Or at least that's... I bet we see Balrog unleashed by this season. All the dwarves are scattered to the wind or whatever. The fall of men will be the end of... Or I could see that being not even until season 3. But then what do you do for 4? What's 4? Because 5 has to be the big final... The first 15 minutes of Lord of the Rings is season 5.
I mean, yeah, the last alliance between men and elves, I would think has to be the finale, or like last episode, or the penultimate episode, and the last episode is just like wrap up or whatever. And that's how it rolls into Lord of the Rings. But like, I feel like you're gonna have to, or do you introduce like 6 other dwarf lords and not 8 other like lords of men? Because really we only have the one from Jesus, wherever Heliodor is from, Gondolin. Yeah, Gondolin.
Don't look at me.
So, oh no, Numenor. That's where it was.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, well, we know those people get some, but we haven't been introduced to any other human male character. It's like,
It really will be, we've summoned the 9 leaders,
And
and
they just hand them up.
they showed up, and then they all say a few things like, oh, what are we doing here? I don't like being in this land, and yada, yada, yada. You get a little bit of characterization, and then boom, they got him.
yeah, I mean, I guess you could just focus on one guy, but you're gonna have one guy be corrupted. Like, you're gonna want to see these people like fall from grace.
Yeah.
But you also, that means I need to care about them. So I assume I'm gonna be like, Durin's gonna get one.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if I assume he has to get one. But like, he's the character you like. Or like, are we just gonna have all of our characters just be so downtrodden because like the whole second age is like crumbling because anybody who we thought was good is now corrupted and evil, and we have to like get to this, we're all just waiting to get to the season 5 so we can get to the big final battle. Like, the nice thing about the Lord of the Rings films is just like, there was just so much hope and stuff.
Yeah.
Even when it was like at its darkest, there was always still moments of like light and humor and good times. It's just like, I just need a little bit more of that in this show.
Yeah.
But
In the Lord of the Rings, we see that the elves still have their rings of power.
correct.
And we know that the men are the witch guys, Witch King and
Ringwraiths.
Ringwraiths, thank you. What happened to the dwarves? Do they all die and their rings are lost? Or...
So, if I remember correctly, some rings were lost or never found. Some rings, it's believed that Sauron does have them, and none of the dwarves turn into like ringwraiths or anything like that. I don't believe. It's just they basically their rings, because dwarves, they dig too deep and they have covered gold and stuff. They're just by nature, I guess, like a more greedy race. So their rings, their corruption was greed and stuff. So they amassed wealth and all that good stuff, but it ultimately like drove some of them mad, and some of them died, and some of the rings were lost. But I think like 5 were recovered and 2 they were never found. But some people think like, oh, maybe Sauron has those.
Oh, okay.
But
He's got
basically he just eliminated like dwarven power by killing like all these like dwarven kings, or like at least eliminating the threat of their kingdom being any real threat to his. And then obviously the men fall because of they become the ringwraiths, and the elves are the only people who like got lucky.
I was thinking like maybe it was Smaug, like in his vast treasures, the rings are just in there somewhere. He's killed them.
Very well could be.
And they're just there, and he just hoards the treasure. He doesn't care what it is. It's just there. But and then it all falls in lava or something.
Because some of them are lost. We never know if they're...
Good writing, Tolkien. Way to tie up some loose threads. But yeah, I'll be interested to see where it goes. I'll continue watching, but don't have the highest of hopes. That first episode really did sell me, though. seeing weird, symbiote like
Yeah.
killing women in wagons and cockroaches and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
More
I mean,
of that.
opening scene I thought was like, oh wow, this is way more brutal than I
Yeah,
expected.
stabbed him with that crown. I've always wanted someone to get stabbed with that crown. It's so
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I guess not. I love Lord of the Rings and I love Baldur's Gate. What can I say? I want fantasy to work. I just wish more of it did.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Because
That's why Willow's the best fantasy movie of all time. So next week is Beetlejuice. And
I will definitely see. Well,
oh, and also The Front Room with Brandy, where her mother-in-law moves into the
Oh,
front room and
yeah.
she's like a crazy
first off, where's Brandy been for 20 years?
in a cryogenic tube because she looks exactly the same as when she was on Moesha. Like
Jesus.
that chick did not age at all. Good for her.
Good for her, yeah.
But I know I can't see it until Sunday. So, yeah, it may be one of those times where, depending on your work schedule, maybe we all go see it and then we roll right into the podcast.
Well, I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, yeah, aren't you going on a little mini vacation?
I'm going on a
or
little
something?
mini vacation, but I'll be back
Sunday night?
Sunday. So if I can, we might still be able to make it work, but I don't know if we'll
Okay.
be able to watch it together.
Okay, fine. We'll figure something out.
I'll let you know.
And I think Nick is off that week as well. So if we don't go too late, like he was off today, he's like, I ain't waiting up that late to talk to Steve. But maybe next week.
Alrighty.
All right, cool. If you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Twitter. What'd you think of Rings of Power or the new releases this week? Did anybody see that? Because you know it's going to be Deadpool Wolverine is number one again. That's crazy that it was number one for multiple weeks, got dropped because of Alien Romulus, and then it went back up to number one. It's crazy. That's amazing. Anywho, hit us up with all your questions, comments, and concerns. As always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
And keep consuming.